that we should cross Japan as the third or the fourth largest insurance market in the world. Pramerica Life में एक इतना बड़ा मिशन क्रिटिकल मोमेंट आता है जब कोई क्लेम आता है फौजी का, तो टिकर चल पड़ता है नीचे हमारे क्लेम्स फ्लोर पे कि हम कितनी जल्दी इसको प्रोसेस कर सकते हैं.
अगर किसी आर्म फोर्स के जवान को इंश्योरेंस करवाना हो तो हाउ सिंपल इज इट टू गेट हिमसेल्फ इंश्योर्ड एंड कवर्ड बाय Pramerica?
So we've trained 8,400 ex-servicemen over the last 16 years, made them into sales professionals, and they sell. Sale लगी हुई है, and everybody's rushing towards that sale. That it doesn't happen with them.
You know, we are being covered by the company, but दिक्कत तब आती है जब आप उस कॉर्पोरेट हाउस को छोड़ते हैं and that cover goes off. Yeah.
Whenever आप किसी फौजी से मिलते हैं और आप उससे पूछती हैं कि फौज ने आपको क्या सिखाया, तो हर फौजी आपको ये बात बोलेगा, फौज ने मुझे एक बंदा बनना सिखाया.
Hello and welcome once again to our special feature podcast where we talk about different aspects of smart money. हम हमेशा बात करते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड्स की, स्टॉक मार्केट्स की, इंश्योरेंस की, जो हमारे ज़िंदगी से जुड़ा हुआ है डे टू डे बेसिस पे. आज हम एक ऐसे सेगमेंट की बात करेंगी कि जो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. वो हमारे देश की सेवा करते हैं, वो हमारे फ्रंटियर्स पे काम करते हैं और हमें सेफ रखने के लिए अपनी जान जो है वो जोखिम में डालते हैं. इसी वर्क के लिए, इसी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के लिए एक बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल प्रोडक्ट जो है एक इंश्योरेंस कंपनी ने डेवलप किया है. आज उसी के बारे में बात करेंगे कि कैसे ये इंश्योरेंस प्रोडक्ट जो है ये हमारे आर्म्ड फोर्सेस को हेल्प करेगी. क्या इसकी खूबियां हैं, क्या खासियतें हैं, इस पे हम चर्चा करेंगे. हमारे साथ बहुत ही खास मेहमान जुड़ चुके हैं, मिस्टर कार्तिक चक्रपानी. ही इज़ चीफ बिजनेस ऑफिसर एट Pramerica Life. Very good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for taking our time. So, Karthik, हम पहले शुरू करते हैं आपकी जर्नी से. So, you are from armed forces. Armed forces से आपने corporate जगत में कदम रखा. So, how has this transition been? First salute to you. हमको सबको अपने आर्म्ड फोर्सेस पे बहुत गर्व है. आपका ट्रांजिशन के बारे में बताइए. Why to corporate services?
So my transition is a perfect example of military to corporate. So I served in the army for 5.5+ years, and I was a combat soldier, which means I was in the infantry. And with 4 years of training behind me and close to 6 years of service, as I said, I decided that I wanted to explore the other side of life, which is probably in the CV street. In the army, everything outside of the military is called as a CV street. And obviously, I'm a first generation officer in the Indian Army from my family. So it was difficult for them to take this fact that being my father had expired, my mother was alone, and it was a time where I had to take a call whether I wanted to continue in the army or kind of look outside. So that transition was not easy, but it was very exhilarating. Lot of guidance while being in the army I got from brother officers, seniors, and then I decided that once I leave and hang my uniform, the first thing I'll do is educate myself and get myself an executive MBA. MBA was the buzzword at that point. I mean, still is. That's how I landed up in Delhi NCR. I joined MDI, Management Development Institute in Gurgaon. And that's where I kind of learned a little bit about what the business world is all about. One thing I was very clear, and I faced that, was a little typecasting that the world does towards the military men. Whenever you see a military man coming outside, you generally typecast that military man to be great in administration, great at security.
Disciplined.
Because there is an attribute that the military man brings onto the table. And now I would also like to say military women bring to the table is discipline. But that does not mean that they're only good in security and in administration. I wanted to break that mold, and that's why my ride was a little tougher and exhilarating. I broke that mold while being in that MBA school, and I said I was very clear I wanted to be in the front end of the business. I specialized in marketing, and I convinced all the recruiters that why I should be in their firm as a sales guy or as a marketer and not as an administrator or not as a security in charge. Because I was in the front line in the army. And I felt that a lot I could bring onto the table in terms of understanding the market, the business world, being a good negotiator, bringing those skills onto the table. So that was a great experience. And that's how my corporate life started, with real estate being my first sector, where I jumped in and got into the business side of things.
लेकिन आपका प्यार जो है वो आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के लिए अभी भी है, क्योंकि आपने एक ऐसा यूनिक प्रोडक्ट डेवलप किया है प्रिमेरिका के तहत, जहां आप आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के लिए उनकी लाइफ की सिक्योरिटी के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. सो प्लीज टेल अस कि आपका ये प्रोडक्ट क्या है और आपको व्हाई डिड यू कम आउट विद दिस प्रोडक्ट एक्चुअली.
सो मैं ना आपके दूसरे सवाल का जवाब पहले देता हूँ. आई थिंक दैट शुड लीड अस टू सेगवे इनटू द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. व्हेनेवर आप किसी फौजी से मिलती हैं और आप उससे पूछती हैं कि फौज ने आपको क्या सिखाया, तो हर फौजी आपको ये बात बोलेगा, फौज ने मुझे एक बंदा बनना सिखाया. I think the man I would say that I am today is all because of the armed forces. Right from school, after 12th is when I got into the National Defense Academy. So when I came out and I got into the business world, I was not focused on the armed forces at that point of time, other than just maintaining relationships in the army. And I was getting into my corporate sector. I got an opportunity to talk to someone from Pramerica. And in 2008, Pramerica was setting up its joint venture in India, and they were just starting out. The market in insurance had liberalized in 2000, and in a way, they were 8 years afterwards to come into India. And they spoke about what Prudential in the US does for the US Armed Forces. So जो हमारे इंडिया में हमारी आर्मी, नेवी और एयरफोर्स अपना अपना ग्रुप इंश्योरेंस स्कीम्स चलाते हैं, जो वो इन हाउस मैनेज करते हैं, प्रूडेंशियल यूएस आर्म फोर्सेस के लिए वो मैनेज करता है और कई सालों से करता आया है. चूंकि वो इंडिया में थोड़े लेट थे, तो उनको लगा कि अगर हमें शुरुआत करनी है तो कुछ यूनिक प्रोपोजिशंस और यूनिक सेगमेंट्स के थ्रू हम शुरुआत कर सकते हैं. उस सिलसिले में वो मुझसे मिले, जस्ट टू काइंड ऑफ नॉक into my brains and kind of understand whether there is an opportunity. और ये जब मैं उनसे बात कर रहा था तो मुझे लगा कि this is a great opportunity for me to create something that has never been created in the corporate world. Plus, I would give back to my alma mater. I would give back to that Army, Navy and the Air Force, or the armed forces together, who built me to the place that I am. So it was a very win-win situation for me. I could do something for them. I could give back. And it came out as a very unique proposition that I could develop. So it was all white paper. Whatever I drew would become the business model of tomorrow. And that excited me. It still took me a year to kind of create the first white paper. And then I formally joined the organization to start this process. What do we do? Now, the fact is, let's go back a little high level. आर्मी को याद कब करा जाता है? जब ऑपरेशन दूर होता है, राइट? जब कोई टेररिस्ट अटैक होता है, जब कोई ब्रिज गिरता है, जब कहीं पे फ्लड आ जाती है या कहीं पे अर्थक्वेक आ जाता है. जब वो सब नहीं आ रहा होता आम जिंदगी में, कोई फौजी को याद नहीं करता, कोई फौजी को थैंक यू नहीं बोलता, कोई सुबह उठ के हाथ जोड़ के ये नहीं बोलता थैंक यू, कितने सारे 13 लाख फौजी लगे हैं बॉर्डर्स पे और वो हमें सेफ रख रहे हैं. सो ओनली जब कोई आपदा आती है तब आप याद करते हो. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि वो एक बहुत ही डिफरेंट एनवायरनमेंट, एक कोहेसिव एनवायरनमेंट में एक मिलिट्री बेस में रहते हैं, फैमिलीज भी रहती हैं, और एक मिलिट्री बेस एक सेल्फ सस्टेन्ड एनवायरनमेंट के रूप में बन जाता है. अंदर ही ऑफिसेज हैं, अंदर ही ट्रेनिंग ग्राउंड्स हैं, अंदर ही आर्मरी है, अंदर ही शॉपिंग कॉम्प्लेक्सेस हैं, अंदर ही घर हैं, अंदर ही स्कूल हैं, सब कुछ अंदर ही है. तो वो एक प्रोटेक्टेड एनवायरनमेंट भी बन जाता है. तो वो एक रिलेशनशिप ही डेवलप नहीं हुआ है बिटवीन अ फौजी ecosystem and a civilian corporate ecosystem. The only relationship they have is their relatives who are civilians whom they interact with. So the first thing I wanted to do was what we can do to bring that trust bridge, that we are looking out for you. You protect 1 billion lives and we protect yours. Now they are taken care well by the government of India. And let me be very honest about this. Obviously, there always can be places to improve, but their pays and services are fixed. Everything is structured in their lives when it comes to their finances. also in terms of the insurance, group insurance platform. Each soldier has a group insurance cover. In the army, they have it through AGIF, in the Navy through NGIF, and in the Air Force through AFGIS. These three schemes are run in-house. Even after that, there are multiple areas where we found some gaps, which I had already seen when I was serving in the army. And those gaps are something that we started to figure out, can we create products जिससे हम उन gaps को fill कर पाएं. और वो जब fill हो जाएं, तो एक soldier की पूरी life cycle में उसके जितने भी milestones आएंगे, कहीं पर भी कोई gap नहीं बचेगा. एक example आपको देता हूँ. Army has to be fighting fit. और मैं army का एक ज़्यादा example लूँगा because it's a much larger force of the armed forces. Army has to be fighting fit. For it to be fighting fit, it cannot have people at the age of 50 plus, 60 plus at the front line being soldiers. So what does army do to keep itself fighting fit? The non-commissioned officer, which is the soldier, सिपाही से लेकर हवलदार रैंक तक, अगर वो अगले रैंक जूनियर कमीशन्ड ऑफिसर के रैंक तक 42 या 44 इयर्स की एज में पहुंच नहीं पाता है, तो वो प्री मेच्योर रिटायरमेंट लेके निकल जाता है. He's been asked to take a premature retirement. So, because of which, what happens? The base of the pyramid gets churned with younger population who get recruited.
Correct.
So now at 42 years of age, imagine a Havaldar leaving the army. He's fighting fit, right? He's much more fitter medically and physically than his counterpart in the civil. The counterpart in the civil would start having BP problems, would start talking pills about hypertension, may start getting into a pre-diabetic phase, all of that. This guy's fighting fit. What we call in the army is shape 1. Now, his pension starts coming to him, which at some point of time, there are two portions of the pension, accumulated version and the annuitized version. The annuitized version is generally around 50% to 45% of his lost drawn pay. So he will take time to find a job. When he finds a job, he would be able to bridge that gap. But till the time he's not able to find a job, can there be a product that is able to give him an income, that is able to add on to the pension annuity that he's getting and bring it back to the last drawn pay of the soldier? Because his family is used to living a lifestyle of the last drawn pay. The accumulated portion that he gets, which is around 60% to 50% of his overall pension benefits, he can save for future milestones, which could be daughters' marriage, sons' future educations, daughters' future education. So someone has to advise him at that point of time what to do with the money. He would also want to go, they all come from rural or little rural urbanized towns and villages. And they have a lot of liabilities back home. So they also use that accumulated portion of the pension to take care of those liabilities. घर बड़ा बनाना है, टाइम ही नहीं मिला फौज में, अब बड़ा बनाते हैं, कुछ जमीन खरीदनी है, खेती करनी है, all of that. So that's one example of one product. It's also a little, occupation is risky. Every 2.5 years to 3 years, a soldier gets rotated between peace locations and field locations where there is a chance of a combat. There's also intense training that they undergo. So there is also a little bit of a risk of a casualty during training. So when that happens, the family gets a family pension. Now, if a soldier dies and the army says that this soldier is a battle casualty, then the family would get at least up to 80-90% of the lost drawn pay as family pension. But let's say the soldier dies as a non-battle casualty, then the family pension portion is again 50% to 60% of the last drawn pay. How can we bridge that gap? That's what we work on. Then if life is rosy for a soldier, he's getting promoted, he becomes a junior commissioned officer, he's serving in the army. He would retire as a junior commissioned officer at the age of, let's say, 52 or 54. But then he's never had any exposure to look at some accumulation that he can bring in using different financial instruments for, let's say, future liabilities. His pension is taken care, let us say. But what about the bigger liabilities of children's education or marriage? Or probably they live all in non-nuclear families or joint families. And a single soldier takes responsibility for multiple households. So there also our products come into play. So what we did was, cutting this entire thing a little shorter, we kind of identify multiple gaps And we try to see that we don't need a single product for each of those gaps, but is there a possibility for one product which could at least cover 2 to 3 gaps, and a second product that could cover 3 to 4 gaps. We kept the protection element a little higher in those products because we wanted the life cover to be significant, because you cannot predict as a owner of a policy that I would survive or I would not survive. So can a product be in such a manner that अगर आप survive करते हैं तो जिन milestones के लिए आपने वो product लिया है वो satisfy हो, और अगर आप survive नहीं भी करते हैं आपकी family को वो milestones पूरे करने में बिल्कुल भी दिक्कत ना आए. So that's the nutshell of what we created.
आपने जैसे समझाया है मुझे, वैसा आप अगर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के किसी जवान को समझाते हैं, क्या उनको इजीली समझ आ जाता है या फिर बहुत दिक्कत होती है? बिकॉज दे आर सो यूज्ड टू कि एक कवर उनको सरकार की तरफ से मिल रहा है. अगर हम भी कॉर्पोरेट में होते हैं तो हमको भी कॉर्पोरेट कवर मिलता है तो हम सोचते नहीं है कभी लाइफ इंश्योरेंस करने की, वी आर बी कवर्ड बाय द कंपनी. बट दिक्कत तब आती है जब आप उस कॉर्पोरेट हाउस को छोड़ते हैं and that cover goes off.
तो हमारा modus operandi है कि हम battalions में जाके प्रेजेंटेशन करते हैं टू अ टाइट ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल, और उसमें हम ये सारा डिकोड करते हैं उनके लिए उनकी भाषा में. ये एक एडवांटेज है मेरे साथ जब मैंने ये बनाया था, क्योंकि मैं उनकी भाषा समझता था, वो कैसे सोचते हैं समझता था. सो हमारा कंटेंट, हमारा डिलीवरी, एवरीथिंग इज डिजाइंड एज पर देम. हम बहुत क्यूरेटेड हैं टू द एक्सटेंट कि अगर आप ट्रेनिंग पैम्फलेट्स को कभी देखें आर्मी में तो उसको आजकल के दौर पे इंग्लिश बोला जाता है, बट हमारे जमाने में उसको रोमन बोला जाता था. इंग्लिश की लिपि में हिंदी, राइट. तो हमने उस लेवल तक क्यूरेट करा हुआ है. हमने वो एब्रीविएशंस, वो लिंग्विस्टिक वर्ड्स यूज करे हैं जिनसे उनको कंफर्ट मिलता है. तो अगर एक बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स कॉन्सेप्ट को भी ब्रेक करके उनके लैंग्वेज के हिसाब से, उनके शब्दों के हिसाब से हमने समझाने की कोशिश करी है. एंड इट टेक्स अ वाइल फॉर देम टू अंडरस्टैंड. दैट्स वन. नंबर टू, nowadays because of social media, smartphones, even they are getting a little bit aware. So they do, and we want them to be aware. That's when they ask us these questions. So what we get from corporate, let's say our corporates, the cover that they give us is a pure term life cover. It is a protection cover. That is what they get from the AGIF or AFGIS or NGIF. But here when they see our products, which has both protection, which is the term part, but also has a savings component, it then gives them a easy understanding ki this is one product that is kind of giving me both the sides of the story. It also is giving me savings,
and cover.
It's also is, and savings can be either via lump sum or income, depending on the need. And the cover is obviously there to take care of my family in case of my casualty. So it's interesting.
So how many products do you have right now, and how many are in process of getting new products?
So right now in the armed forces segment, we distribute close to 5 products, 5 to 6 products.
Okay.
And we've got another 3 that are in the pipeline.
Okay.
Because even so as the markets are changing, as the regulator allows us to kind of look at more complex nature of products. There's much more customization that's possible now, and that's very customer friendly. So we're bringing those levels of customizations also in the 3 new products that we're looking at.
अभी जो coverage है आपकी कितनी होगी approximately of armed forces?
How many soldiers do we cover? Every 6th soldier in the Indian Army today is a customer of Pramerica Life, under the segment called Prahari and Param. So these are the 2 businesses that we run. So every 6th soldier today is a customer of ours.
अच्छा, ये बताइएगा कि आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में जो जवान होते हैं वो रिस्क टेकर्स होते हैं, हमको प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं. सो जब आप नए नए प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च करते हैं तो क्या वो एग्रेसिव इन्वेस्टर्स, इट्स नॉट इन्वेस्टमेंट बट इट इज प्रोटेक्शन, क्या वो एग्रेसिव होते हैं या फिर दे आर रिस्क अवर्स इन मैनेजिंग देयर फंड्स?
They are, if you ask me, very how do I say, astute, I won't call it investors, but let's say astute buyers.
Okay.
It's a misnomer that वो कहते हैं फौजी सोचता नहीं है. वो बिल्कुल ही वो नहीं होता कि देयर इज अ सेल लगी हुई है एंड एवरीबॉडी इज रशिंग टुवर्ड्स दैट सेल. दैट it doesn't happen with them.
Okay.
So if you launch a new product, again, that presentation is important. They need to understand what is it going to be. They would ask you that what is new about this product that was not there in your previous product. And they are very astute when it comes to understanding that. And that is what we find very valuable. Because because it's in life insurance, ma'am, is a long-term contract. अगर sales की भाषा में बोलूं, आपको मैं ये कप एंड सॉसर अगर बेचने आया हूं, आपको मैंने इसके फीचर्स और बेनिफिट्स समझाए, आपने मुझसे खरीदे, आपने मुझे पैसे दिए, मैंने प्रोडक्ट आपको पकड़ाया, हमारी सेल की रिलेशनशिप खत्म हुई. अगर टूटा कप जल्दी तो आप प्रॉब्लली मुझे कॉल करेंगे. बट यही चीज अगर मैं लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का प्रोडक्ट लेके आता हूं और आप मेरे से वो लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का प्रोडक्ट बाई करती हैं, तो वो आपकी रिलेशनशिप मेरे पास शुरू हो रही है. द सेल इज नॉट येट कंप्लीट बिकॉज यू हैव पेड मी जस्ट 1 year's प्रीमियम एंड यू हैव कमिटेड टू मी and I have committed to you the other way, that let's say you took up the policy for 10 years, that you will continue to pay me for 10 years and I'll continue to service you for 10 years and I'll continue to be in touch with you for 10 years. So a sales in a life insurance or a health insurance specifically is longitudinal.
Correct.
Where it's sales and a lot of service after that for you to still have the faith in me and keep paying me. Right? You could always lose faith in a couple of years' time. I have to keep reiterating that faith in you. I have to be in touch with you. It's a very longitudinal sale. So it's good for us that armed forces personnel is an astute buyer. So that makes my life a little bit easier when he has to continue with me for, let's say, a decade or more.
अभी कितने what is the maximum term that you offer on your products?
We go up till 40 years.
Okay.
So it depends upon the age of entry of the soldier or the customer, and also depending upon the need analysis that we do. But our products can go as high as 40 years in our non-par traditional products.
Okay.
But when we come with the whole life version, the whole life could go up to even 99 years of age.
प्रीमियम्स को लेके हाल ही में देखा गया है कि प्रीमियम्स हैव बीन ऑन द राइज. आई मीन यू आर फ्रॉम द इंश्योरेंस सेक्टर, सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम आस्किंग यू. और दिक्कत होती है जब हमें भी प्रीमियम्स रिन्यू करने होते हैं, तो हम देखते हैं कि जी बहुत कुछ बढ़ गया है, 1 साल में तो बहुत जंप मार दिया है. तो ऐसे सवाल आपके पास आते हैं फौजियों से कि प्रीमियम्स इतने हाई क्यों हैं?
Premiums in term insurance, pure term, definitely, ma'am, you're right, they've gone up. They would go up because of a lot that is happening in terms of the mortality, right? Term insurance जो होता है वो खाली mortality को भी देखता है, lifestyle को देखता है, and इस हिसाब से also how the traditional bond market is, or treasury bonds are performing, the G-Secs, right? इन सब का मिश्रण है. In terms of protection कम savings product, जिनको हम non-participating traditional products बोलते हैं या participating traditional products बोलते हैं, उनमें उतना impact नहीं है. उनमें impact definitely government securities के rates का है, but वो impact उतना translate नहीं हुआ है in terms of the pricing of the product.
Okay.
So when we go to the armed forces, we are talking about the second category of the products more. I don't talk about the term.
Okay.
Only term, because they're interested to give us money, invest. But they also want a return at the end of the tenure if they were to survive. Because we have talked about those needs. If you remember early on in the podcast, we talked about the needs. So those needs are only going to get served by these traditional non-participating, or broadly the non-participating and the participating platform of products.
अभी तक मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल लिविंग इन इंडिया आर नॉट क्लियर कि इंश्योरेंस खरीदते क्यों हैं, क्योंकि वो इंश्योरेंस को तब खरीदते हैं जब उनको कोई सेविंग करनी हो, या फिर टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ द ईयर, फाइनेंशियल ईयर के मतलब मार्च के महीने में आपके पास कॉल भी बहुत आते हैं इंश्योरेंस कंपनियों से. सो दिक्कत ये है कि इंश्योरेंस इज अ इंश्योरेंस, इट्स अ कवर, नॉट एन इन्वेस्टमेंट. क्या ये आप अपने ऑडियंस को या आपके इन्वेस्टर्स को या कस्टमर्स को समझाते हैं?
हम कहते हैं कि जैसे कंपनी की बैलेंस शीट होती है जिसमें एसेट और लायबिलिटीज होते हैं और दोनों को मैच करना पड़ता है, तब जाके बैलेंस शीट स्क्वायर होती है. वैसे ही एक ह्यूमन बीइंग की, आई एम सेइंग ह्यूमन बीइंग बिकॉज वी आर इन डिफरेंट प्रोफेशंस, मैन और वुमन, हम सबकी अपनी एक बैलेंस शीट है, फाइनेंशियल बैलेंस शीट. एवरीबडी हैज दैट. Our financial assets and our financial liabilities. Our financial assets could be our income, could be our investments. Our liabilities are our EMIs, our loans, or let us say something that we need to give to people. We've promised someone something. As we age, as our salary increases, our asset liability starts getting a little mismatched. Now, a great example of that is I used to earn $1,000, ₹1,000 a month, let us say. Very rudimentary example. तो अगर मैं उस टाइम पे अगर मेरी मौत हो जाती तो मेरी फैमिली को हर महीने वो ₹1,000 कहाँ से आएंगे वो फिगर आउट करना पड़ता जी. 4 साल हो गए, अब वो ₹1,000 ₹10,000 हो चुके हैं. करेक्ट. अगर उस टाइम पे मेरी डेथ होती है तो मेरी फैमिली को उस ₹10,000 को फिगर आउट करना पड़ा. सडनली 4 साल में ₹9,000 की आदत लग गई है एक लाइफस्टाइल की, घर में उतने पैसे महीने में आते हैं. सो जैसे जैसे आपकी लाइफ बढ़ती रहती है आपका कवर भी बढ़ना चाहिए. सो हाउ आर यू, दैट इज वन. उसके अलावा आपकी लाइबिलिटीज भी हैं जो आपने पूरी करनी. हम एक फैमिली रन करते हैं, हमने घर बनाना था, हमने बच्चों की शादी करनी थी, हमने बच्चों की पढ़ाई करनी थी, हमने पेरेंट्स का देखभाल करना था, हमने अपनी रिटायरमेंट का देखभाल करना था. तो वो ₹9,000 जो सैलरी के इंक्रीज लाइबिलिटी हुई उसमें ये सब जुड़ने लगे. किसी का 10,000, किसी का 15, किसी का 16, किसी का 17, ऐसे करके एक अमाउंट बन गया. उतने अमाउंट के अगर आपके पास इंश्योरेंस नहीं है तो फिर आपने तो अपनी फैमिली को प्रोटेक्ट करा ही नहीं. तो अगर आपने 4 साल पहले इंश्योरेंस ले लिया और आप कहा कि मैं लेकर बैठा हूं या बैठी हूं वो काफी है, दैट्स नॉट ट्रू बिकॉज योर बैलेंस शीट इज नॉट येट स्क्वायर्ड. आपकी एसेट और लायबिलिटीज अभी तक स्क्वायर नहीं हुई है. सो दैट नंबर दैट विल मेक योर एसेट एंड लायबिलिटीज स्क्वायर्ड या उसको बैलेंस करने के लिए, उस नंबर को हम कहते हैं ह्यूमन लाइफ वैल्यू. सो आपकी ह्यूमन लाइफ वैल्यू है वो, उसको आपको हर साल असेस करना चाहिए और उसके हिसाब से लेना चाहिए. अब पहले इंश्योरेंस पुराने जमाने में सिर्फ वो टर्म कवर हुआ करती थी, बट आज रेगुलेटर ने इतने प्रोडक्ट्स अलाउ कर दिए हैं, इतनी ज्यादा इनोवेशन आ चुकी है इस इंडस्ट्री में कि यू कैन नॉट ओनली बाय अ कवर बट ऑल्सो हैव यूज इट एज अ क्वाज़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट कि एटलीस्ट चलो अगर मैं सर्वाइव कर गया इस पीरियड को तो विल आई गेट द मनी दैट आई इन्वेस्टेड to get that cover back with some returns. So that means जो मैं कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट्स करता था जिनका कोई खास यूसेज नहीं था, उन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को मैं इंश्योरेंस में डाइवर्ट कर सकता हूं. बिल्कुल. जो क्योंकि वो डुअल पर्पसेस सॉल्व करेंगी मेरी. मुझे उतना रिटर्न्स तो यहां पर भी मिल रहा है और मुझे कवर भी मिल रहा है.
इंडिया का इंश्योरेंस मार्केट अभी भी अंडर पेनिट्रेटेड है. तो आपको हम सबको पता है कि अभी भी मेट्रोज एंड अर्बन सेंटर्स में इंश्योरेंस को समझते हैं लोग. व्हाट इज प्राइमेरिका डूइंग टू इंक्रीज द पेनिट्रेशन, स्प्रेड द अवेयरनेस? आपका सेगमेंट तो है ही है जिसको आप अच्छे से संभाल रहे हैं, बट ओवरऑल हाउ डू यू सी इंश्योरेंस सेक्टर डेवलपिंग इन इंडिया?
So ma'am, I think it's one is about literacy जो आपने बात बोली कि awareness metros और tier 1 towns में ज़्यादा है. It's also about access. So it's about expanding access. ये हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा मिशन है. How do we expand access and then how do we bring in that financial literacy? Expand access का मतलब ये है कि आपको इंडिया जो एक बहुत बड़ी कंट्री है when it comes to size of the population 1.4 billion, right? 140 करोड़. उसमें से भी अगर आप इंश्योरेबल पॉपुलेशन देखें who have access to financial platforms जो गवर्नमेंट भी बहुत ज्यादा करने की कोशिश कर रही है, that would be कम से कम 70 से 80 करोड़ if not lesser, right? But that's spread across various sections of the society. So can you carve them out as customer segments and then create a business distribution which only goes towards those segments? So other than the armed forces, Pramerica Life runs close to 9 other distribution businesses, which I am also responsible for. Okay. This was something that I spoke about is because I started that in 2009. So obviously there's a little bit of a comfort there and an ownership. But we also run the rest of other 8 to 9 more distribution channels, which is all about expanding access. Okay. One such example I'll give you is the microfinance institutions. Okay. We work with microfinance institutions of the country who are actually lending to the end consumer is an agriculturist or a small time business owner in a village.
Okay.
Through these self-help groups, joint liability groups model that these microfinance institutions work on.
Okay.
Now, we insure the life of the borrower for that amount of the credit that he has taken from the MFI.
Okay.
Right? So that gives us access to go to really deep hinterlands of India, real good villages of India. So that's about expanding access. When it comes to our agent distribution model, our focus is to not look at tier 1 or metros, because it's any which way is a little more heavy. Banks are distributing very heavily for their insurance partners in tier 1 and metros. Our focus is to expand to tier 2 and tier 3 markets. We are also looking at direct distribution to expand to tier 2, tier 3 markets. Okay. A direct to consumer business also looks at that target addressable market, which comes from the tier 2, tier 3 markets. So it's all about expanding access. Once you're able to build that access, फिर आप financial awareness, financial literacy, insurance awareness, insurance literacy कर सकते हैं. It's a long road ahead. But at least start point हमारे लिए तो हमारा thought process, हमारा vision, हमारा strategy is more about expanding access.
So where do you see insurance coverage as we talk about $7 trillion economy and developed nation by 2050? तो हमारी coverage कितनी होगी तब तक? अभी तो बहुत कम है.
So rather than answering the coverage, ma'am, let me take a different corollary. By 2030, if the economy kind of moves in the direction that we are all anticipating it moves, and the insurance expansion happens through multi-access and multiple distribution models, one of the reports published by Allianz is that we should cross Japan as the third or the fourth largest insurance market in the world.
Achha.
And that's the potential that India brings in. Today, we are sub 4% insurance penetration, which could then, being at the fourth largest, could give us a leeway to at least reach closer to the double-digit number that we should aspire to in terms of the insurance penetration.
One last question, Karthik. अगर किसी आर्म फोर्स के जवान को इंश्योरेंस करवाना हो, तो how simple is it to get himself insured and covered by Pramerica? क्या करना होगा उनको? डॉक्यूमेंटेशन बहुत होती है.
ये सबसे बड़े यूएसपी है हमारी. पहला मैं एक्सेस ही बताता हूँ, उसके बाद मैं डॉक्यूमेंटेशन पे आता हूँ. एक्सेस है, हम कैंट में के अंदर ही मौजूद हैं. कई जगह हमारे ऑफिसर्स कैंटोनमेंट के अंदर हैं. Around 60% of my sales force in that model are ex-servicemen और family of defense personnel. So अगर मैं security और admin में नहीं घुसना चाह रहा था, तो मेरा ये mission भी था कि अगर हम ये model चला रहे हैं, I don't want a havaldar or a नायब सूबेदार or a nayak who's coming out of the army on pension to kind of hold a 12 bore की gun and stand outside an ATM. So we've trained 8,400 ex-servicemen over the last 16 years, made them into sales professionals, and they sell. Which people could never believe that a Fauji could sell. So those ex-servicemen and the officers are inside. So they can access us very easily. Number two, they can also access us. There are special hotlines that we've created only for the armed forces, through which it's an inbound call center that where they could access, which is not outsourced. It's insourced within Pramerica Life offices that they could reach out to, and we could be, reached out in case they want a product. Now comes the documentation. As I said, we've actually mapped all of the SOPs and the processes of the army and built into our company. So we are like our SOPs match with them, and that's where the comfort, ease of doing business comes. I don't seek a death certificate. Because if a commanding officer of a battalion, who's a colonel rank or a lieutenant colonel rank, who's a class 1 gazetted officer, given the commission by the President of India, certifies that this is the nature of the death of the soldier and the soldier was posted from here to there, I don't seek a death certificate if he's serving. So my documentation is reduced to that extent. And which is why I'm able to process claims within 48 hours. There are claims that I've processed in 45 minutes. प्रेमेरिका लाइफ में एक इतना बड़ा मिशन क्रिटिकल मोमेंट आता है जब कोई क्लेम आता है फौजी का, तो टिकर चल पड़ता है नीचे हमारे क्लेम्स फ्लोर पे कि हम कितनी जल्दी इसको प्रोसेस कर सकते हैं। कई बार फौजियों को ही नहीं पता होता, यूनिट्स को नहीं पता होता कि उनके किसी सोल्जर की डेथ हुई है, वो सोल्जर हमारा कस्टमर था। तो उल्टा हम रीच बैक करते हैं उनको। हम तो न्यूज़ और मीडिया में देखकर यूनिट्स को बोलते हैं कि हमें सुनने में आया यहाँ पे 8 लोगों की कैजुअलिटी हुई है, ये नाम आए थे, इनमें से 4 नाम हमारे कस्टमर्स हैं, आप हमें इस डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में हेल्प करिए, वी आर गोइंग टू प्रोसेस द क्लेम्स विद इन less than 48 hours. So our documentation is very, very minimal. Even when he wants to become our customer, this is all about claim documentation. Even when he wants to become our customer, I don't ask a soldier to go for any medical tests, because the soldier undergoes medical tests every year, which is part of his annual medical examination or periodic medical examination. Our underwriters, our product specialists at Pramerica understand the entire document of how they go through the annual medical examination. So even if he gives me his last annual medical examination, it's easy for him to become a customer of mine. 90% of time, we don't even ask for that document. Because we know, so Pramerica Life में एक सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है कि we understand their lifestyle, their modus operandi, their occupational work so well that we are like an extended arm for them. That's how businesses can be created, and that's how synergies can be created.
Correct. कार्तिक, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आज हमारे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए. It was really very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.